Oh boy, this is going to be a fun one today, man. This is going to be a fun one.
Drew, if you thought what I did was bad, you have no idea what you're in store for
Right?
today. This is going to be the bigliest show that you've ever seen, and it's going to make anything that I've been accused of look like anything that Joe Biden has done, and especially with Hurricane Hillary coming through and wiping out the West Coast, because that's typical Democrat stuff. Is that Hillary will come through and she'll completely destroy an area, and I can't do it anymore. No,
See, that's the type of bonus
I mean, that's
footage you
see.
get
Here's
on YouTube.
here's the thing. It's different doing the president. When you've got video, because the whole thing is about the hands.
Yeah,
It's the hands. We don't call it. In my house we call it Trump hands now. We don't call it like
Trump
jazz hands or anything like that. So
yeah,
dude, we gotta, dude.
This will be fun.
Like we had one story teed up for the week, and we're gonna get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
And then,
well, yeah. At first, let's welcome everybody here live on YouTube. What's going on, everybody? We're going to start the show here in a few minutes. As if any of you are new coming in, we are doing live versions of the show every single week with bonus footage before we start the show, during a break, and then sometimes after the show. So you will get some extra additional bonus footage, but want to welcome everybody who does decide to join in today. Thank you guys for coming in. We'll be starting the show here in just a moment. But yeah, man, we had something teed up, and then last night, holy crap. I mean, we ended up fuck, man.
I don't know, dude. This is like, I don't know what the hell's gonna happen.
Yeah.
We're gonna speculate. We're gonna do a lot of speculating today on what's gonna happen.
Well, let's kick it off.
But let's hold that speculation for a minute, because look,
we gotta do our normal intros and stuff for the show,
Oh, I know. Okay, well, go ahead and do that, and then I'll, we'll kind of roll it in.
Yeah, we'll roll in from there. And what's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 196 of Let Me Get That Potograph. My name, of course, is Drew, or the DH, and joining me, my awesome co-host, Mr. Scott Rappaport. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, man? So
a lot,
yeah. I will say, you know what, dude? This is episode 196. Yeah. I'm a little bit pissed off at the NFLPA right now.
Yeah,
because
a couple more episodes.
They could have waited 4 more weeks to pull this shit.
Yeah,
and it would have made for a great 200th episode.
Absolutely. But we would have needed a couple of days in advance to have, to get like a good panel on, to really discuss it. But yeah, it would have been nice if they'd thought of us a little bit, especially since I know someone that works there.
Well, we would have had the panel already set up.
Yeah, that's
for that, true. And now it's like, oh crap. And nobody wants to go on and and talk about it, because nobody knows, and let me rephrase that. Nobody who knows anything,
right,
is going to come on and discuss what's going on.
Yes, absolutely.
But we
had speculation.
Exactly, and we're going to be speculating the hell out of it too.
Yes.
We do have some updates though that have popped out. We will get to that in a little while. But I do want to say that we had one other segment that we were, going to do.
Right.
And we're still going to do it. Because that's how we roll. So if you guys want to hear our take on the NFLPA and Panini and all the crap that's going on, that's happened in the last 24 hours, you're gonna have to wait.
Yeah, you're gonna have to wait a few minutes,
because this would have actually been the story of the month.
Yeah, I think so.
Had that not happened. And
right,
for those that don't know, I'm talking about some flawless NBA cases that were opened.
Yes.
That cards that have appeared in these cases have already appeared and been sold elsewhere.
Yep, we've got resealed flawless cases.
And now this isn't like the situation where we had that duplicate Lamar Jackson one of
No, no,
where the patch was different. And
no. These are the exact cards.
these are the exact cards. So Drew, why don't you get into the details on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So this was originally pulled by, it was originally pulled, I believe, yes. Okay, so it was sold on eBay's version or China's version of eBay. It's cardhobby.com. It's a very popular auction site, especially for people overseas. It was sold on July 1st. It was a Brooke Lopez National Treasures RPA patch. Then it was pulled from a break a month and 2 weeks to the date. Yeah, 6 weeks exactly later on August 15th, 2023, it was pulled in yet another break. So, and since then, they've also found, because this was from multiple cases, I think they found now over 10 cards that have been sold that were in these boxes. And these boxes, which this is the kicker, it's easy to reseal for someone to make a fake case and reseal it and sell it to just another breaker, just a nobody type of deal. But this was actually, these cases were sold to this breaker, and he provided the purchase slip from Dave and Adams, which that's what makes this so much different than someone at home just making a case, sealing it up like crap, and then pawning it off on a breaker who knows no better. This is a company who literally has, air quotes here, experts that look at this stuff, and yet multiple fake cases, just two that we already know of, were sold by Dave and Adams.
Okay, now I do want to preface this with we have the purchase receipt that's been shown.
Yep.
We've got the cases that were obviously resealed because cards that came out of them were sold prior to this break actually happening.
Yes.
What we don't know is, and this is the tricky part, were those the exact cases that Dave and Adams shipped? Now, it's very possible that the guy is sitting on, X number of cases.
Yeah.
That, it's possible Dave and Adams shipped them different cases than what were open.
Yeah, without seeing, and I haven't seen the full video, without seeing the full video of him, and he would even have to open the actual case box and not just the boxes, then they'd be able to match up, the numbers to see if they were those actual cases. There's a way to find that out, but only if he did that on video, which putting that massive box on video is a little difficult to do. But this is a very reputable person in the hobby. And the big telling point on these was the seal. On National Treasures boxes, it's very, very, very easy to tell the seal. It's plainly obvious. On these, it looked like they got a little try and made it too perfect and made it so the seal wasn't visible at all. So you couldn't, there basically was no seal, almost like it was vacuum sealed or something. It was a different seal altogether. And then add in the fact that the Brooke Lopez is there. It's the same one. It's put in. Then they find other cards that were sold on these multiple different platforms. And, that's basically how it was found out that these were sealed. Now, Dave and Adams, they buy tons off the secondary market.
Right.
Always. But I go back to this. They have experts. This is not selling like me just buying a case at a show and then selling it to the hobby shop that I sell cases to all the time. This is a company that literally provides, basically almost really a guarantee that what you should be expecting is legitimate, real product. And this stuff's getting by them. Come on.
There are so many failures on so many different levels with this particular item, and like how to unpack it, because again, there's a lot that we don't know.
Yes.
Where did I'm pretty sure that it wasn't Dave and Adams that resealed the package.
No, I'm in no way saying that.
But who did they buy it from? And honestly, having having a card that's sold on, we'll call it Chinese eBay. Because it's just easier to say it that way.
That's what it is.
Yeah. To have a card sold on Chinese eBay and then shipped to whoever purchased it and have it show up in a resealed case 6 weeks later. And probably
in China,
even shorter than that.
The break was from someone in China too.
Yeah. So the card got shipped from the person who bought it, got resealed in the case, sold to Dave and Adams, shipped to China,
and then opened
all within 6 weeks.
Yes.
So I don't know, something about that timeline, especially knowing how long it takes stuff to get back and forth, and
right.
And all the process behind it and things like that. That is a very short period of time.
Well, I mean, that shows me that this isn't a one-off type of, just spring them an idea. This is an actual operation. This shows me that these are not the only two cases. At least if I had to put all my money that I have on one of the sides, I'm putting it on the fact that this is an operation. If you're able to get that out and get that done that quick, I mean, obviously you don't care about selling the case to Dave and Adams at their low buying price. I think they're offering to pay $1,700, which is crazy low, but you'd expect it to be for them. But if it's a resealed case that you're making bank on anyway,
if you got $300, you got $300 worth of cards in there.
Exactly.
Selling it for $1,700 is a great deal.
So I firmly believe that this is part of an operation, and I think these are the same type of people that are probably involved in the trimming stuff, in all of the scandals and the type of stuff that we have seen in a long time. I absolutely think these people are connected. They work together. Yeah, I'll put my tinfoil hat on if I need to. But I mean, this screams to me operation, and it looks like they figured out a way to funnel them through Dave and Adams. Now, I know the people in Blowout and the Blowout detectives, who are the best in the world, are probably going to scrutinize Dave and Adams' sales and box and anything they can to death and find out information that I wouldn't even know how to find. And maybe we'll get more information on this, but it seems like they found a way to funnel these cases through Dave and Adams.
Yeah, and honestly, that's the disturbing part.
Right.
Because typically, Dave and Adams, Blowout, Steel City, Chicagoland, any of the other major distributors and things like that, you've always had that feeling of safety when you buy the products from them.
Yeah.
Is that it's legit. It's it's going to come. It's not. It hasn't been opened. It hasn't been tampered with, and now all of a sudden, that's not the case anymore.
Yeah.
So hopefully, not only Dave and Adams, but also every other one that I mentioned is going to go through and look at all the cases and things like that they've purchased on the secondary market, not from a distributor, not from direct, and really scrutinize everything they've got that falls into that category and says, okay, well, is this good? Is this sketchy?
I mean, this is high end stuff, dude. This isn't Origins. This isn't Chronicles. This is Flawless. This is a lot of money. I mean, you got to scrutinize these big time things to the T. You got to, I mean, if you're going to be a company like Dave and Adams or a Blowout or something like that, you've got to be able to make sure that those are legit. Shit like that cannot slide by. And it's not the first time. I mean, as soon as I posted something on socials this week talking about that, I had multiple people commenting about their own experiences of getting resealed boxes, other issues with Dave and Adams. This is not their first go around with all this, which makes it all the more concerning and just baffles me how they still remain one of the biggest, secondary market distributors out there.
Yeah. I'm still a little in shock that this was able to, be pulled off in the first place.
Me too. In 6 weeks, especially. That's a massively efficient organization.
That's the crazy part.
Yeah.
It's the whole. This was done in and it had to be less than 6 weeks because
Right.
all the other cards that got that were sold and
Yeah.
shipped off. 6 weeks is the beginning to end of when the Brook Lopez sold as an individual card and when it appeared.
Yeah. I'm assuming that's probably the last card they bought because I can't see him buying them later because now I'd have to look. There is details of when those were sold, but I would assume that's the last card it had to have been because like we said, you've got a 6-week turnaround time and international shipping multiple times.
Yeah.
Like,
and chances are the cases are being, they're being overnighted.
Oh yeah, of course.
Something of that value is always going to be overnighted. So I mean, you're not looking at, but still overnight international. It's usually like 2 days.
Yeah.
But how many dry runs did they have to go through to get the sealing or the resealing of this right?
Yeah. Well, they didn't get it right. I mean, but which is the big problem. They did fail. So maybe, this might have been their first run, which makes it even scarier. If this was their first run, they got it by David Adams with a seal that was blatantly obvious, not the exact same as every other flawless case that they would see.
And hopefully David Adams has a record of that exact case and who they bought it from, because that is going to be, the undoing of it.
Yeah.
But did they buy a whole bunch of cases from a whole bunch of people and they all got mixed in together and they don't know where they, which one sold them which
Would
case?
not put it past them one bit.
And frankly, if I were in their shoes, I don't know if I bought 20 cases from 20 different people, over the course of a, couple week period, I don't know if I would mark each one of those cases as to which one came from which person.
Yeah.
They'd go into a stack with all the other sealed cases, that I've got. And so I wouldn't fault them for not knowing if that's the case. But if they only bought one or two during that time period, then you got it narrowed down to a couple of different people.
You know who it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm assuming fake name and all that, but and no matter what, I mean,
not necessarily, because they're gonna have to send a check somewhere. They're gonna have to or wire money somewhere. There's got to be a real name connected to it somehow.
Yeah.
So we'll hopefully find out.
Yeah, I hope so, because it's definitely disturbing when high end product like that on, like I said, one of the biggest secondary markets in the world. When it's able to be on there that quick, that easily, that's a problem for the hobby, and that's a problem for a lot of buyers. And so all I can say right now is if you're buying high end, at least from David Adams, I would stay away from basketball, and I would probably check some of my cases before I bought them. I would probably only buy them in person at this moment. I mean,
yeah. And as far as we know, there haven't been any other cases from any other, any of the other distributors.
And this was 2021, 2022. So that's the year that it was too. It's not multiple years yet. It is 2021, 2022, which is obviously a big year for Flawless. But
I don't think 22, 23 Flawless has come out yet.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
but I'm saying it hasn't trickled down into, Luka year and all that stuff. And that we know. That we know of yet. But we'll see what happens with that. But now, Scott, drum roll. Time to get to the topic that I think everyone in the world probably is speculating about and talking about. And guys, like I said, we're going to preface this. Thank you guys who are tuning in on YouTube. But we're going to preface this with this is obviously a lot of speculation. There are updates. We do have some updates. I have spoken with some people and some updates have come out publicly. We'll get to those here shortly, but there's going to be a lot of speculation involved here as, of course, we're talking about the big news that dropped yesterday and sent the hobby world into a frenzy with the NFL Players Association yanking the license from Panini a good 3 years early and giving it immediately, and this is very important, and I'll get to that in a moment, giving it immediately to Fanatics.
Yep. Now, this creates a problem. So as of right now, and for those that, just so we timestamp it for those that are listening on the podcast when it comes, the audio comes out in a couple of days, or within a day or whatever. It is 11:24 a.m. Central Time on Tuesday, the 22nd.
Yeah.
So as of right now, Panini has not filed anything as far as a counter, lawsuit or anything like that to put an injunction on the NFLPA pulling the contract.
I expect them to.
I also expect. I was getting to that. I was going to say that they are most likely, the lawyers are most likely working on the language in that right now. And it would not shock me if it is filed at some point today. Or
I was going to say, by the time this audio gets out, I would assume that it would be.
Yeah. Now, this thing, it just gets weirder and weirder by the minute. So the Players Association pulls the contract, and they didn't give a reason as to why. They just made a statement that they did it. And so at that point, the only reason the only way they'd be able to end the contract early is if Panini violated the terms of the contract in some way.
Yes. Now, before you do go on with that, these contracts are full of massive loopholes and are normally very poorly written, which is how athletes, like we were talking about with the Bo Nickel situation, are able to get away with contracts if they have them, which we still don't know on Bo, but they're able to get away with not signing for 13 years. There are tons of loopholes in these contracts.
Yeah. So somewhere along the line, Players Association found a loophole, and we should mention the Players Association does have an equity stake in Fanatics.
Thank you.
So not a surprise that, they were trying to get out of it earlier because there's more money at stake with Fanatics than there is with Panini. And that's why I've been saying for a long time that Panini should have sold, as soon as they lost the contracts, because the period of time for Fanatics to make more money shrinks every day.
Right. Well, I think also what kicked off all of this, I mean, let's be honest, is Panini rebuking that first deal. I think that when Fanatics tried to buy them, and Panini said, thought, hey, we're going to be able to fight this. We can fight the beast. I think when they said no, that's when the gloves came off. And you kind of see it in the timeline around when that was initially said. Then what happens to Mint, et cetera, et cetera. Now we're here. Now we've got the NFL Players Association doing something like this.
And that makes things a little bit interesting, though, because, and that may be the reason why Panini hasn't filed for an injunction yet.
Yeah.
That brings up a tampering case as well. Yeah. So if that is the case, that, because Panini rebuked the deal, all of a sudden, you see things like this happening, it can be argued that Fanatics is tampering with their business.
Right.
And if that can be, especially with the Players Association having an equity stake, within Fanatics, that brings up, there's collusion involved.
If you look at the timeline, it matches up perfectly.
Yeah.
Once again, just saying if that is a reason. I do want to read before we go any further. The NFL Players Association statement for those of you that haven't heard it. So it says, NFL Players Inc. has terminated its trading card agreement with Panini. Effective immediately, Fanatics has the exclusive right to make NFLPA branded trading cards. This decision has no impact on any individual player's contractual agreements with Panini. If you represent any players with an existing Panini agreement, the NFLPA recommends, I hate that they use that word, that you encourage, I hate that, the players to fulfill his contractual commitments to Panini. If you have any questions, please contact Redacted. This was sent out to all agents and people like that.
Right. And now I'm going to go ahead. Another update. Panini actually did release a statement this morning.
Yes.
So this is the statement that they had released. We believe this was totally unwarranted and improper action by the NFL Players Association in conjunction with Fanatics, especially in light of the unprecedented sales by Panini of NFL trading cards. Panini has grown the category of sports trading cards by over 1,000% since 2009 to the benefit of all concerned. We believe the only party who benefits from this action by the NFL Players Association is Fanatics, and not the players, the leagues, or consumers. We note that in addition to the NFL Players Association license, Panini has licenses with the NFL and over 360 individual players. Panini will honor all of its contractual obligations. That was, just want to give credit, that was posted by Darren Rovell this morning, very early.
Yeah.
So he must have been up all night working on that.
He definitely.
Yeah,
was.
he didn't sleep last night. So and now Panini's statement brings up kind of where I wanted to go next. So now let's just say that Fanatics is successful in snaking away the Players Association license early, and is able to make Players Association licensed cards.
Yes.
Panini still owns the NFL contract. And so now all of a sudden you have a situation where Fanatics would be making players or, cards with players that don't have team logos or team names, kind of like Panini was doing with baseball up until they lost the players. Which, look, everybody bitched and moaned about, I'm never not buying Panini baseball because it's unlicensed. And I hate the term unlicensed because it is licensed.
It is licensed.
Yeah, just by the Players Association, not by the league.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden you have that situation, but then you have Panini, who has the NFL license. They're able to make cards using the logos and team names, but not the players.
Yep.
So
I know. So it's a clusterfuck, dude.
But here's the thing that I don't think I have never heard anybody mention this before. As far as I know, I'm the only person that is bringing this up. If Panini is not able to produce the quantity of cards and the number of sets per the NFL contract, the NFL can then claim that Panini has violated the terms of the contract because they're not producing to the level that they are supposed to by the contract.
Right.
And then pull the contract.
Well, they absolutely can, but Panini also has to pay for that contract, and they pay a decent amount, like that they actually have to pay in, and I wouldn't pay a damn cent to that at this moment. But I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with it. It's so weird if we do have cards, because there's multiple different situations that could come out of this. And if we do have cards, they're all going to be some type of unlicensed. And as you can see right here in Darren Rovell's tweet earlier, he's even stating that the NFL Players Association is saying that Panini is no longer considered having a group relationship, and when you don't have that group relationship, you can't put out a product with more than 5 players in it. So that's where the union looks at these agreements with Panini.
It's not just Panini. I do want to point out that Des Bryant, who is a member of the Players Association, was going to release a trading card product of his own. And I believe he was going to launch it at a fantasy football event coming up in a couple of weeks. And the Players Association sent him a little reminder, and I'll use air quotes, reminder email that, hey, if you've got 6 or more players, that are represented in this set, you can't do it without a license. So, they're saying that to one of their members. So at least they're being fair across the board, and how they're coming after things. But I'm wondering if this was the first shot. I'm wondering if the language in the Players Association contract with Panini gave them different outs and different loopholes than were present in the NFL contract. But by losing the Players Association, that would really in Panini's ability to produce cards with players on them will have an effect that will give the NFL the chance to pull their license early as well.
Well, I think that's 1,000% what their angle was on this. I think 100% it was to pull that license, make it to where it looks like, okay, look at the landscape and what we're talking about. Look at what your options are here. And then also have, like you said, pull that language in the contract where the NFL could essentially do the exact same thing. Or if not that, even force Panini to say, okay, now its equity is incredibly small. Do we just move it? Like, do we try and do something with it? So I absolutely think that was their reasoning in doing it. My biggest issue with the NFL Players Association on this, and I have a big issue with this, is I 1000% believe that unless, with a couple of things I'm going to talk about later, unless some of this is true, if they just straight up decided to find some loophole and there wasn't a legit reason, Panini didn't do anything, that would legitimately violate and give them reason to say, hey, let's cut ties. To cut ties and immediately give it to a company that you have a greater financial incentive to give it to.
Yeah.
That is a fucked up way to negotiate, especially for a company that is a group that is literally all they do is negotiate. I mean, that's all the Players Association is, and that's how you're going to handle things. Even if I'm Fanatics, I'm looking at it and saying, well, shit, I know we can't be beating any other thing, but if someone comes along with billions of dollars, Jeff Bezos or someone wants to, decide to jump in a decade, what's to say they're not going to do it to us? Like, how does the NFL look at this and say, damn, they're going to pull this? What are they going to pull at negotiations? Like, that's a messed up way of doing things. And that, like, I have a major problem with how the NFL Players Association put this out, and their wording with, they recommend that you encourage your players to fulfill their contractual obligations, basically saying they don't have to, but please do, instead of, firmly saying, make sure your dudes own up to their shit.
Like, yeah. And I think they could have said that.
They should have.
I think the only reason they put the language in there as they did was, so Panini couldn't come after him and say,
they didn't.
Hey, you're tampering not only with your contract, but you're tampering with, 360, individual player contracts. And it's giving the, they still want to give the players the impression that their individual contracts have nothing to do with the Players Association contracts, which they don't. And happen that's there. I do want to point out, though, that we don't know what the hell is going on. Like, we don't know what's going to happen with, the cards that are, like, they're cards that have been produced that just haven't been released yet. There's,
that's what I wanted to get to, because I've spoken with the NFL Players Association, and I've spoken to some people at Panini and Fanatics, but not to the level that I have at the Players Association. And I asked one question. I said, and it was based off of Darren Ravel, who was, I think, live with Ken Golden. And he said that he thinks that there won't be any NFL trading cards this year. So I messaged someone that I know in the Players Association. They got back to me. I asked them one question. I said, I know you can't get into much detail, but is there a possibility that we go a year without having NFL football cards? And he said there are multiple possibilities at this moment, but yes, that is an option. So there is the possibility that they cut off, and products that are already packed out, everything, do not get put out. Now, I will say I do know that card shops have been billed for Luminance and Donruss Elite, and that's it. Everything else was to be billed starting this week. And so I would assume Luminance, Panini has First Off the Line coming out today. So I'm assuming they're letting them, unless they just decide to start doing refunds today. I haven't heard that from card shops yet. But unless they start doing refunds, I would assume those products come out. But there is a very, very good possibility that there is just a hard stop on NFL cards this year, and there's nothing by anybody. I mean, Bowman can come out in your NIL deals and stuff like that. But in terms of NFL, no, it could be cut off. And that is a possibility depending on where this goes next.
All right. So right now, I just pulled up Panini's website. Right now, they've got 2022 encased. That is,
it comes
first
out today.
offline is live. On Thursday, 2023 Elite.
Yep.
Is popping off now.
That's the last that's been billed to any LCS.
Right now, 2020. Now here's the thing though, 2022 product. So encased, I would assume that's going to come out because it's a 2022 product. Right. But for Elite, I'm curious because the countdown is still on. It's still on the website, as you know. First offline's coming out in a couple of days. We're gonna have to keep an eye on that. Because
it's going to determine on if they file that injunction, which I think they're going to by the time this episode hits the pod waves.
Oh, they have to. Yeah. But we'll have to, but here's the question: is it going to be a successful injunction?
Right.
That's going to, and it's very possible a judge may, have a conversation with both sides, and it may take a week to come to a decision on whether or not he's going to issue an injunction to force the Players Association to honor the terms of the contract with Panini.
Yeah. Now, I can also report that distributors were set to have meetings with both Panini and Fanatics today, and both companies did cancel those meetings with major distributors. So
it's a surprise that Fanatics would cancel it, though.
Yeah. No, both companies canceled.
Just because you've got, they're not currently distributing any NFL product.
Right.
So... you would think that Fanatics is, unless they're just trying to avoid questions.
I'm sure that that's probably why, but two reps that I know had meetings canceled from both companies today that were scheduled meetings.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I understand Panini canceling because they don't know what's going on.
Right.
And they won't until they get sued. But I guarantee this is going to court.
This is going to court.
And like I said, the question is going to be, how fast is a decision going to be made, and what happens if an injunction is not issued, and the court and then obviously it's gonna this may wind up wrapped up in court longer than the remaining term of the license agreement was supposed to be anyway. But imagine going several years, because if an injunction is issued, Fanatics will not be able to produce Players Association licensed product, and Panini will still remaining. They'll produce their normal product as is. But if an injunction is not issued, how fast are we going to start seeing product from Fanatics? We may see a Topps Chrome football with no team logos, no team names.
Yeah. Basically what Bowman was back in 2014 and stuff, essentially, minus team names. They always blurred out the Bowman helmets for some reason. I don't know why, but they always did that back in the day, and maybe that's what it's going to look like. But I don't know. What's going to happen with the cards is crazy. Now, I will say those Panini Instant cards with C.J. Stroud and all those other quarterbacks, those cards, depending on what happens, if no cards are released, that set of Panini Instant cards, which is very low, is going to go down as one of the most notorious card sets of the modern era. Guaranteed. If football shuts down, because it will be their only pro uniform cards that they have as rookies.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think of what if there's no football cards for the entire year, and all of a sudden you have, some of the guys that just got drafted go off and have monster years.
Very possible.
What if CJ Stroud is the next Mahomes?
Bijan Robinson coming out and just showing you, doing
and they
quite
don't,
a bit.
And they don't have rookie cards.
Yeah. Yep.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
What's that going to do? And they may not even have second-year cards, depending on how long this plays out.
Well, I don't think that this is going to take long to play out, actually. I don't think I say that because it's too big of a business. I could see it. I could see them halting it this year and it taking through this year. I absolutely could see that. but I don't think it's going to take years and years.
Well, but here's the thing: Fanatics has has an incentive to drag it out as long as possible, because
but
it's not
Panini doesn't.
affecting their bottom line. Panini, on the other hand, does not.
Well, it's not affecting their bottom line, but in a way it is, because they built out a Fanatics football team, which ironically full of ex-Panini employees. But that entire football team, and in this new part of Fanatics, they want to make those cards. Trust me, they've invested a lot in the fact that they're going to have those licenses. And so while it's not affecting what they expected their bottom line to be, Fanatics isn't some company that sits back and does nothing. Ruben.
No, but at the same
time, it bad.
But at the same time, they are in a much better financial position where even if they have to pay these guys, their salaries for the, a year or two, it's not going to hurt their bottom line at all.
Right.
Well, Panini, on the other hand, has a financial incentive to get this wrapped up as quickly as possible. Yeah. But here's the other piece. How long, if the Players Association is successful in moving the contract, how long until the NBA Players Association follows suit?
It all depends on what ultimately the NFL's reasoning and the way if they truly are able to get out of this, and the judge doesn't say, no, you can't get out of it. If there was a way for them to weasel out of this contract this early, when Panini obviously fought it, 1,000% the NBA is going to do it almost immediately. I would say within 2 or 3 months, as soon as the reason that is out, and it's a legit reason, which I want to touch on a possibility here in just a minute, which goes back to their lawsuit that we talked about a couple weeks ago. But if there is a legit reason for it, then yes, the NBA will follow suit almost immediately.
All right. And before you get into that reasoning, I do want to point out that in theory,
yes,
this should have no effect on any existing redemptions that are outstanding. Those players, they're either going to sign it and return it as normal, as recommended, of course, by the Players Association, or they're not.
Yeah.
And odds are, if they're not, it's got nothing to do with the Players Association moving the contract.
Yeah.
It's because they're assholes.
Yeah.
And they don't give a shit about you or me or any of the other collectors out there. They're just not doing it.
Yeah.
And that's not a contractual thing or not,
no.
It's just them being assholes. So we'll just leave it. We'll just leave it at that. So, everybody says, well, what's going to happen to my redemption that I've been waiting 3.5 years for? Well, dude, you've been waiting 3.5 years for it and they still haven't signed it.
Hey, it's been the Players Association's fault the whole time anyway. You've been mad at the wrong people your entire time. So just get pissed at the Players Association and wait. But,
that's
all I've seen.
Yeah, like I said, you've been waiting that long and they haven't signed it yet. So what are the odds that they're going to sign it now or later? Or, I mean, look, it's not. Yeah, it's not rocket science.
Wait. If it's NFL, expect to freaking wait.
There's an old military term: hurry up and wait.
Yeah,
that applies here.
That's 100%.
So, all right. So you think you may know what the reasoning is?
Well, okay.
I don't. Again, speculation only.
Yes, this is speculation. And guys, if you are on watching us on YouTube, thanks everyone for tuning in to our live uncut versions on YouTube. If you are, please drop some questions if you have any in the chat. We will address those all at the end of the show with some bonus footage for everybody.
Definitely want to thank both of you that are watching live.
Yes.
I'm just kidding. It's
But
more than that. It's actually 3. But
okay.
Guys will catch it on the replay. It's okay.
All right. So I was told by a very reputable source who owns a store and has spoken with a couple of reps and spoken with a couple of people this morning, and that have spoken to a couple of people that are very close to the situation. And I talked about this on the Hobby Hotline Live last night. I said something in the lawsuit that Fanatics shot back Michael Rubin's manifesto to Panini, where he basically just destroyed them. I mean, that's what I'm calling that that lawsuit's just a manifesto, because it was just gut punch after gut punch. But in there, I said there has to be something that the NFLPA latched onto. Now, what I'm being told is there is a very, very good possibility that the part about Panini falsifying their numbers by that 200 million we were talking about last week, that could possibly be the actual reason. Now, whether it's 200 million or not, whatever, falsifying numbers apparently internally, at least by a lot of people, is being discussed as a possible reason for the NFLPA, getting out of this agreement. Now, once again, that is speculation, but it is based on talking to some people that do have some very, very good contacts in this industry, work with these companies hand in hand, and from their conversations, that's what they're hearing.
See, and that doesn't necessarily make a ton of sense, because
I know
the Players Association is paid a percentage.
Yeah.
Of the set. Now, it's a smaller percentage with the current contracts than it will be with the new contracts.
Yeah.
But they still get paid a percentage. So if it was the falsification of numbers, one of two things could have happened. Either one, the Players Association was overpaid, in which case, why would they leave if you're being paid more than you should be paying?
Yeah.
Or that they're looking at those inflated numbers and saying we were underpaid.
Exactly. Yes.
That you owe us a ton of money because your sales were actually higher than what you reported to us.
Yeah.
And that's also, because again, Fanatics has a relationship with the NFLPA. They've got a relationship with the NBA Players Association. It's very possible that the two players associations reported what they were given and what their percentages should have been on licensing fees and things like that from Panini.
Yeah.
And that's how Fanatics was able to say you're over-reporting your numbers.
Right.
Very good chance that's the case. So, if that's the reason, I'm willing to bet the Players Association is going to use that and say, hey, you owe us all this money if the numbers that you reported were correct.
Yeah.
And that's a violation. Because look, not paying the money that's due is a violation of the contract.
Yep.
So that would give them an out. In theory. Again, we haven't seen a language on the contract, but we're assuming that there's something in there that voids it if money's not given. That could be the case.
No, absolutely. It could be, and like I said, this is just from a couple of sources that I've heard from that do have quite a bit of good sources themselves. We'll see, obviously, what happens with this, but this whole thing, man, the thing that scares me the most is if we go a year without football cards, if that is the case, if that stops. Talk about just a gut punch for the hobby, the football hobby in general. But no matter what happens, this is all just awful.
Well, hold on though. Hold on. There is a little bit of precedent that we can go on here.
Well, yeah. Upper Deck when they're with their baseball shit.
No. More recent. During the 12-13 NHL season, when they were on strike.
Yeah.
They weren't producing cards with any of no new rookies, none of that.
Yeah, the dual rookie class later.
Right, and they did the double rookie class the next year. But during that period of time, I was heavy into hockey during that period of time. And what I wound up doing was branching out a little bit more. That's when I started getting more into basketball again.
Right.
And football. And obviously, I was still doing baseball, and it's fine. My money went to basketball and to football.
Right.
Because that was it. And I've got a feeling. Look, we're all, especially those of us that rip wax, we are all degenerate gamblers. Look, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know, if that's a wake up call for you, those of us that rip wax, we are gambling. We are degenerates. Whatever. But we're still going to be ripping wax. We're just not going to be ripping.
Well, no, I agree. I meant this entire situation just being bad for the hobby because it's all the bad news. Like, just this shining a light on this. This isn't going to take, if we're trying to pull new people into the hobby, nobody's going to look at this and say, oh, this looks like fun. I mean, you know what I mean? Like these lawsuits, all this bullshit. This isn't what the hobby needs to be focused on. But yeah, the football market, if there's no football cards, I could easily see a lot of people going in towards the other sports. Basketball, I would assume the most, since it'll be the one going on for the most part, since baseball will be wrapping up, even though products will still be coming out. But I also see it as a lot of, and it's almost overdue, but there's a lot of players in the football hobby that don't get the love they deserve because there's been so many stacked rookie classes. We are having that massive changing of the guard where there's so many good up and coming quarterbacks. You don't know who's going to be the best of the best yet in really any of these positions because so many of the greats retired and so many of these other guys are going into year 3, year 5, where they really make those big jumps. There's a lot of people that get overlooked in the hobby. So maybe that money starts going over there. I would expect to see older product from the last couple of years start to skyrocket, and maybe people start putting more money into where they have been going, which is in the 90s football, into the vintage area. I don't know, but there's a strong chance we don't get any football cards this year, and that it's going to be weird to see how the new era of the hobby handles something like this. We've got precedents for it, but it was a completely different hobby then. And that's what I want to see.
And I'm also curious to see what the effects are going to be on shops. Because football is,
it's number one for a lot of shops.
It was number one for a lot of shops. I think it's number 2 overall. I think baseball is still ahead of that. But a lot of shops make a ton of their income every year on football packs.
Mm-hmm.
And without it, their numbers are going to dip significantly.
Yes.
Football is also the easiest product to sell. For some reason, I mean, it's football. Every shop owner I've always talked to, football is always the easiest to sell. What's going to happen to their bottom line?
I know. No, this is a big blow for hobby shops, like massively. If, like we said, cards don't come out, but like I said, we had our emergency hobby hotline last night, and guy Rex, who owns a shop out on the West Coast, was talking to us, talking about how football is his number one seller, has been since he's always had his entire shop, and that all the shop owners that I've spoken to are very worried about the upcoming year because, I mean, look, I also don't think it's a coincidence this was released right before football season started by the NFLPA. I think this was a 1,000% calculated attempt by them and Fanatics. They did it right before football season for a reason, but there's a lot of shop owners that are going to take a big hit if an injunction by Panini isn't being able to be held up in court, and they say, yes, okay, everything's a status quo for this year. We're going to figure out the next couple. If they don't say that and allow them to produce cards, now you still won't get the Stroud, the Bryce Young autos, they're Fanatics. That's already been announced and confirmed and everything. But everything else, you'd still get them in cards. You'd still get a normal release date. Unless that happens, shop owners are going to take a big hit here.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this, because I don't do a lot of the draft product.
Sure.
Are the draft products Players Association? I don't think they are.
The draft products they would be able to do, but the only way that they would be able to do it would be if they didn't use players that were already drafted to an NFL team. because their name and likeness would be used on a card.
Yeah, but if you flip over the back of like a Select Draft or Chronicles Draft or anything like that, and I know you ripped some this week, so you've got a couple laying around.
Right here.
Look on the back and see if there is a Players Association logo, because if there is, then if there is the logo, they won't be able to make them. But if there's not
there is no NFL Players Association logo on there.
Okay, so based on that, I would assume that they're probably able to continue producing the draft.
Yes, but they do have a limit on the amount of products of those they can produce. And if they're not, and even though they have, with Panini's statement today saying they've got 360 signed athletes and everything, if the Players Association wins this whole idea that they don't have a group majority anymore, a group licensing, since they don't have the majority, I'm assuming they're claiming they don't have group licensing, Panini won't be able to put out any products with more than 5 players on them.
Well, I think that because it's really a college product, I think that would be an exception.
So they may be able to get away with it. That may be. I mean, it isn't licensed and it isn't touched by the NFLPA, at least on the box. Now,
it would be on the box.
But see, the thing is once a player, and this is something I don't know the answer to, but once a player is drafted, has moved on, I could see them as maybe using their NIL deals and doing players that are in college still that are coming up for the next draft and maybe moving that up early. But I'm pretty sure, I mean, these guys are signed members of the NFL Players Association now. So something has to give. I mean, doesn't it? I mean, because now they're members of the Players Association when these products came out and everything else.
Yeah, but if they're using old photos and from their college days and they've got the NCAA, license to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And you're not calling it an NFL product.
Right. Hey, if anyone knows the answer, please let us know. We'll do some research this week. That's a good question. But
because if that's the case, do we see 2023 Optic Draft?
Well, I figured we'd get to that eventually.
Do we see Donruss Draft?
I figured we'd get to all that eventually anyway.
Yeah, I mean we already have
got Select draft this year. Yeah.
Well, so Select, they've done Select the last couple of years.
Yeah, they did. By the way, the Select this year, my God, guys, awful design, just fucking terrible. Select draft. Oh, hideous, bro. Hideous.
Well, the Select NFL looks good, though.
Yes, it does. Draft pick's awful.
Yeah.
Cut that design, guys. If you make football cards anymore, that is.
Or don't use it for basketball either. Because a lot of times they share the design between those two. Yeah. But I'm curious to see how this is all going to play out, just along with everybody else. Everybody has more questions than answers. It is literally taken up my entire Facebook feed until everything I go through, it's all freaking people questioning what's going on with it. My phone, if you look at through my text messages last night,
oh dude,
I got messages from like 40 different people.
Yes.
Wanting to know what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
And guys, look, we don't know. We don't know any more than you do.
Yeah. And anything I do know, I'm going to tell you. I reached out to the NFLPA, got as much information as I could from them for you. Reach out to Panini and Fanatics. Any information we get, we're always going to give.
Yeah, and I've got a feeling that neither of those companies is going to be releasing information that's not coming out through their attorneys. No. Which is from a business standpoint, that's the smartest thing to do.
Yep.
Panini already came out with a statement this morning. We read that earlier. We read, the NFL Players Association, what they sent out last night. Aside from that, we're going to have to wait most likely for some sort of court filing.
Yes.
But the good news with that is it's public record.
Yep, exactly.
So,
and just like we said before, looks like we might really get to Discovery now.
that was a common thing from last week. So we'll see what happens with that. But we're going to be keeping an eye on the clerk's dockets in various courts, both federal and state. I would assume because this involves an interstate contract, it's probably going to go through the federal courts, not through the state of Texas. But we'll find out. And it's going to be a very interesting couple of weeks.
Absolutely.
I'm already sick of hearing about it, to tell you the truth.
Oh, no, me too.
Look,
this is not what we talked about last week.
Yeah.
Not what I like to discuss in the hobby. Not what I want to be talking about in the hobby. But hey, it's something we got to cover, and it's something that's going to affect the hobby for a very long time. But like we said, we will keep everyone updated. Everyone on YouTube, of course, hang around. We'll do some bonus content and answer some of your questions. But Scott, I think this is probably a good time to wrap up episode 196. What do you think?
I would agree. I wish we had other things to discuss this week, but the NFL Players Association decided to make that decision for us on what the content is going to be this week.
Yeah.
And
we did slip in some flawless,
we slipped in the flaws this year.
What we could.
But as far as I'm concerned, right now, them dictating our content for the week, they can go eat a dick.
Yes, I completely agree. And on that note, that is a perfect time to end this week's episode. So before we go, I do want to thank our awesome sponsors, Card Ladder, Denver Card Shows, Game Time Cards, Zion Cases, Show Your Slabs, Slab Strong, Stand-Up Displays, and Treasure Hunter Sports Cards. Thank you guys so much for everything you do. Could not do the show without you guys. We do have Hobby Hotline, of course, every single Saturday at 11 a.m. over on Bench Clear Media. Make sure you check that out. If you missed the emergency episode from last night, the audio and video is up. So go check that out. It was a very, very good show. And I was on last week's episode also. Awesome one as well. Of course, but a lot of really cool stuff coming up. I've got to get ready to go head to Cali this weekend. If you are at the Collecticon in Long Beach, come say what's up. I'll be out over there. Look forward to seeing some of you guys then. But until next week, you guys know the deal. Keep ripping those packs, pulling those hits. We'll talk to you then. Peace.
All right. Yeah, you forgot to mention our brand new sponsor.
Who's that?
Pornhub.
Oh yeah, Pornhub.
Yeah.
So
I'm actually surprised. Everybody? You know what? I'm actually surprised that Card Porn, who's one of the great Instagram accounts, I'm surprised he has not come out with the Card Porn Hub URL.
I know.
It's an opportunity just waiting.
It is
over there.
But anyway, what's going on, everybody? Thank you guys for tuning into the show today. Had a couple of you jump in there. Greatly appreciated. If you are watching for the first time live, we are doing every episode that we record uncut, uncensored right here on YouTube exclusively. And, we'll have some bonus content. We will answer questions. If you have questions, throw them in the chat. And at the end of the show or during a break, normally we have a break in the middle. This week, I'm just going to throw in some Lowe's ads right in the middle for you. But yeah, normally we'll answer them during the break or at the end of the show. So please, any questions you have or any comments or anything like that, greatly appreciated. If we get any big comments or if there's any news that you have, feel free to drop that in as well. We always greatly appreciate it.
All right. So there are a couple of questions. Want to go through those. Mr. Brown.
Yeah.
Questions about what are the odds Fanatics slip money under the door to the NFLPA to pull the rug out from under Panini as a payback for the Monopoly lawsuit?
This is all payback.
High. The chances are high.
Crazy high, and this is all payback from this all started, like I said during the show. Once Panini said fuck you to Fanatics initial offer, the gloves were off, the Mint Collective happened, and ever since the Mint, when they really went at Panini hard, it's been like that since then. And Panini, to their credit, is not backing down. And so Fanatics is going to continue to, I would not expect anything less than Fanatics to continue to do this, but they 1000%. This all has to do with money. The fact that they transferred this immediately being the key word over to Fanatics shows you right there that it was all about money and it was all about.
Well, see, I don't know. I think this one was more about spite than it was about money.
But yes, but money was involved.
Yeah,
yes.
No, money was involved because Panini turned down Fanatics' money.
Yeah,
and this I think was all about spite.
Yeah.
But Chris, by the way, before I get to paper pushers, hang on a second. So Chris, to your knowledge, they're not members of the NFLPA essentially until Goodell's pathetic ass calls their name in the draft. That actually is partially true. They're actually not members of the Players Association until they sign their contracts.
Right. Yes. Once the contract is signed.
Yeah, and obviously we know that from the time they're drafted until the time contracts get signed, sometimes it can be months.
Yeah.
Usually it's not, but they're not necessarily members as soon as they get drafted. They got to sign a contract first.
Yeah. So over to the other Chris Leroy over there at Paper Pushers. What's going on, buddy? If you're still here, by
the way, not in any way related to Bruce Leroy.
Not to my knowledge.
For those that like 80s, cinema.
Yeah. Wonder what's going to happen with all the product already packed out. That was something we talked about last night on Hobby Hotline. My question was, how fast is it backdoored? I don't know. I mean, maybe they just go old school and throw it in the river, and then we see a bunch of people diving for cases into the river.
Well, and the question is, so if they do throw it in the river, old school style, they're going to have to publicize that that's what they're doing, because otherwise, if it does wind up getting backdoored, Fanatics is just going to come after Panini with another lawsuit stating that you intentionally backdoored this product, and it's going to cause a lot more problems. They would be better off, frankly, throwing it in an incinerator, but you would need a massive incinerator.
But see, I think almost
that quantity.
But I almost think that a lot of this, in the lawsuit, they also said that, or Panini said in Panini's lawsuit, got to keep all these lawsuits straight. They accused Fanatics of halting their ability to print, pack out, and get stuff done. I wonder if, that this is one thing they were implying, that they were stifling their football.
All right. And I'll say, Chris, show enough. I was actually gonna answer the question that way, but Drew got to it first. So yeah, clearly a fan of cheesy 80s cinema.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
but yeah,
I just want to know how many guys, if there's no football cards this year, how many guys are going to start ripping packs of the real football? And of course we're talking about soccer. Yeah. Because that is still an underserved market, undervalued market. I've literally been stocking up on anything I can get my hands on, because in a year or two, that shit is going to explode.
Oh yeah.
So
hell, it's also going to be one of the only things Panini's got left. So if they stay as a company, you'd imagine they're going to pump everything they have into UFC and soccer.
Yep, exactly. And but again, it's weird. The soccer market's weird because you've got the league licenses,
right? Yeah, and then everything else,
and then you've also got the UEFA license, and there's a FIFA license, and so you do wind up having licensed products from both Fanatics and from Panini.
Yeah.
So it's only a matter of time before the Fanatics goes after those licenses too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out on the YouTube live, uncut every single week version of Let Me Get That Potograph. But Scott, anything else you got for today, or?
No, that's it. It's lunchtime. I got to go get my fat ass some food.
I hear you. This is the third show that I've done talking about this, so I am very, very glad to be hitting end record.
Well, it's not the last one you're going to be talking about because I've got a feeling
know.
that this shit's going to rear its ugly head again next week too.
And I've already got like 3 other questions to be guests on some other shows, so you might see me on some other shows talking about this.
Nobody asked me to come on any other shows. What's up with that?
They might not have they probably don't have your number yet.
They know how to find me.
Huh?
Everybody knows how to. I'm not hiding anywhere.
You'd be surprised how lazy a lot of these people are. No.
I know. Everybody knows how to find me. There's no issues. Or they don't say, hey, Drew, can you get Scott over here? They never said that.
To be fair, I don't say should I bring Scott too, so maybe I should do that.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now only look guess only one is necessary. But look, nobody ever reaches out to me. I feel neglected. I feel underutilized.
I love you at least. So, you got that. Doesn't mean much, but
Yeah, and it's all right. Hey, the next 2 weekends are packed for me, man. I got 2 soccer tournaments I got a referee at, and my son's playing in the second one as well. So we're knee deep in soccer, travel baseball, and all my trips. Good God, my weekends are full, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
and school. Oh yeah, and that whole school thing.
School? What's that?
School, baby.
School?
Yeah, I get my morning back.
Damn, dude, you sending your kid to school?
Yeah, it's wild.
Fuck, I let mine sit at home and watch TV.
Get a little smarter.
No, mine sit at home and watch TV all day.
Lucky fuckers.
Look, everything. My daughter has learned so much from watching To Catch a Smuggler. She knows, she knows all about math, and she knows all about the metric system. She can tell you.
Here she comes.
Yeah, she can tell you how many grams are in a kilo. There's all sorts of things that she can tell you that, hey, this looks like crystal meth, or this looks like Coke.
All right.
All the important things to know.
Go. If you're in the Chicago area, hit up his daughter, apparently.
Oh, no. She just knows about it. She's not actually doing it.
I know.
I'd kill her.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. That is our dumbasses for the week. Every single week, we will have bonus content, like I said, at the beginning, middle, and end of every show. Today was a little bit different with not having a break in the middle, but thank you guys for tuning in. The audio version will be up tomorrow, so check that out. And, of course, we'll be back next week for you guys. You guys have a good one. We'll see you guys then. Peace.